So good afternoon, guys. Today I'm going to be talking about the BTS of Bad Things Were Good, our short film for 232, and let's just get into it. So I'm going to break this down into a few categories based on, the different stages of production, like film production. We're going to break it down to development, financing, pre-production, production, post-production, marketing, and distribution. Like maybe 50% of these we didn't really do because it's a student project, and also for another huge reason which I will be covering later on. But bear with me, guys, because we filmed this short film in February, somewhere in February. I think it was towards the end of February. I don't really recall. I just know that it was our final project, and then we still needed time to edit it. I wasn't the editor, but yeah, we'll get into it. Let's start off with development. For the script, we were given a script that was made by somebody else in a different class, but they still had the same professor that we did. I guess can I say the professor's name? We had Professor Atkins as our professor. He was great. Absolutely great. I think we were also among his first class. One of his first classes that he was teaching at SCAD, if I do recall. The script was made by somebody else in one of his other classes. We all got the same script. We had to interpret it in our own way. That was the whole assignment. I think it was 4 or 5 groups of maybe between 4 to 5 people, maybe 6 or 7 in some groups. 6 was the max. Don't quote me on that. For our group, it was me, Weston, Amber, Zander, and Anneliese. So yeah, that's 5 people. I'm pretty sure the others, if they did go higher than 5, it was probably just by 1 or 2. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. But yeah, we all had the same script, and we just had to interpret it in our own way. And it was a certain length, but I think Weston changed it a little bit. He changed it a little bit because I guess he didn't really like how certain parts were written, or he just wanted to personalize it a little bit more. It was 6 pages, and that's including the cover page, the title page. So pretty much 5 pages of script, 5 pages of written script. That was pretty much development. So we didn't really have to create our own script, and we didn't really have to bounce any ideas. He did give us the option if one of us did have another script idea that we had already written. I don't think it really had to be too developed, just developed enough, but none of us had it. Not in our class. We just went over everything that we may need. Since there's 5 to 6 people in these groups, it's not necessarily a lot of people. A lot of us are probably going to be taking 1 or 2 roles or more. So it'll have our main role and then also doing something else. So for financing, for each group we all did something different. Our budget was $200. Weston was pretty much paying for that. I paid for Crafty for the production day, but other than that, no, Weston, and I don't know if Amber paid for anything, but yeah, that's the thing. Our budget was $200, and I don't know if we stayed in that budget, because even for a student film, it wasn't really a real set. So not everything was set in stone. We weren't all because for producers, usually, they control the whole budget and this and that, but not for this, because it's just a final project, which doesn't mean you should do the bare minimum, but at the end of the day, it was just a final project for a class. That was it for financing. The budget was $200, and everything else was through SCAD, and it was it wasn't free necessarily because tuition costs, but it was free at that time. Right. Pre-production. So we made a whole pre-production book. I think that was also Weston, and I think Amber may have helped with that. I think they were working together, but don't quote me on that either because we did not do that in class. The pre-production book was Back to the Future themed because the script, it plays homage to Back to the Future. You'll know once you go watch the short film, but yeah, that's pretty much what it is. In the pre-production book, we have the colors, the type of vibe that we would be going for the short film. We got the crew, me as the producer, Anneliese as the sound and the gaffer, Weston as the director, Amber as the DP, and Zander as the editor and AD. Well, he was definitely an AD. I would say he was also a gaffer. And we were all PAs. We were pretty much all PAs. I would say the only thing that's different here is like the editor. Like Amber edited the video and Weston did some VFX work. We'll talk about that in post-production. The locations on here in the pre-production book, they're not necessarily accurate. The suburban home, it was kinda, not necessarily. It's not really a suburban home that looks like that, but it looked more like a savannah house. No garage, but like street parking. It looked pretty nice. It looked good enough. For the park, we didn't actually film at any other park. We just filmed on location, on the same location at the house, like right in front of the house. For cast, these were the characters. We had Taylor and her sister, Liana, Justin, Cole. For the people that we casted as those characters, that was also Weston and Amber. Now that I'm realizing this, they kind of carried. Like, realistically speaking, though, they got some of their friends to play as these characters, which is good. For props, on here, we got the soccer ball. I mean, these props are straightforward. We didn't have a real DeLorean, but we did something else. And the laptop, I don't think we used either. We didn't use a laptop. I'll tell you in production. Pretty straightforward. Pop-Tarts, don't completely remember that. Instead of like the Pop-Tarts as a food, I think we used some of the leftover pizza that I bought for Crafty, and we just used that as a prop as well. For the camera equipment, we booked out the 232 red Komodo package that SCAD provides, and then we got the basic sound equipment, and then we got the lighting kit. I forgot what it's called. I'll have it on the screen if I do recall what they were called, but we got specific lights. They're like tubes, lighting tubes, so I forgot what they're called. Then we got the budget, $200. The shot list at this time, we didn't really have it all set up yet, so this wasn't really accurate. Yeah, that was pretty much what we had for our pre-production book. We had our production schedule, and then on here, I think this was made by Amber, if I do recall. Amber and Zander. The plan was to start at 11 a.m. I think that's what we did. We got there a little earlier. I think it was like 1 or 2 hours earlier. The plan was to end at 8 p.m. I don't think that's what happened. No, we went like maybe 30 minutes over. It was about that time. We kind of ended it at 8 a.m., 8 p.m. Well, we were supposed to wrap up at 7 p.m. Close. We were close to keeping it on track. But anyways, so now for production. For one, I think I left this off in pre-production, but in pre-production, I also had to schedule to pick up the equipment. I think it was for Thursday, and then I had help with Anneliese because she had a car, and we needed to get that over, and she had to store it in her car. Yeah, not the best plan. Actually, I may cut that out. Yeah, that's what we did. We stored it in the car. She stayed at Chatham as well as I did. So they were still security watching over it, which was good. So nothing happened to it. We had to do it on Thursday, even though our shoot wasn't until 1 or 2 days, because they are closed over the weekend. And yeah, we can't pick it up or drop it off during those days. Okay, back to production. So for production, we filmed, what day was that exactly? It was either Saturday or Sunday. I think we filmed on Sunday. We filmed on Sunday. We got there around 10 or 11, and we all met up. Anneliese came with the equipment. All the first actors came in that were supposed to be in the first scenes. I'll have photos up here as well. Yeah, we just basically set things up. But this is where the first problem occurred. When me and Anneliese checked the equipment, we did a decent job, but we missed the fact that there wasn't a battery charger. There wasn't a battery charger, so yeah, They forgot to add the battery charger, but we also missed that they forgot that there was a battery charger. They forgot the battery charger, but we're all supposed to check their equipment pretty well. So it was a bit of a 50-50 thing. It was a 50-50 fault. I was at fault, and so was the equipment people, the equipment checkout people, because they should have had a battery charger. But lesson learned. The best skills you learn are from, lessons learned. So since that has happened in the past, I know what to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. But yeah, that was a huge issue. We still luckily got through filming the whole short film, partially for the nighttime party scene where the actors walk into the the house, and it's just a whole bunch of flashing lights. We filmed that on an iPhone because the camera died. We couldn't film on that. Couldn't charge the batteries. But yeah, there was that. And then it was also the SD card. We forgot to bring an SD card for the sound equipment, so Anneliese had to go get that. I think luckily that's it for the issues. Yeah, we just set up all the shots, got all the photos up there. I'll be showing you. Boom, boom, bam. We were on schedule, I would say. Well, no. We were on schedule for the first 30 minutes. And then we drastically were off because of, the battery and then the SD card that we had to wait for. The SD card and headphones, because I don't think we had headphones for sound. So yeah, we didn't have the SD card for sound, and we didn't have the headphones for sound. So there's that. I think we had the batteries, but I don't even recall if we had I think, do they come with batteries? I don't think so. So I don't know, but yeah, it was pretty much just sound and the battery charger that we had issues with. Other than that, we were good. Me as a producer, I was a BTS photographer as well. I'm taking a whole bunch of photos. So it was DP, director, gaffer, and sound that do the most. I was doing some PA and then some second AC, but it was mainly just BTS photography. It took us pretty much the whole day to film that. It was somewhere around 10 a.m. that we started, and then somewhere around 8 p.m. that we ended. So yeah, somewhere around 10 or 11 hours for the whole shoot. Weston found this cool phone, this cool landline prop, I think at Target, that came in handy for the prop, because finding props at such short notice was pretty hard. I was having trouble finding props. So yeah, that's what we did. We set up cam. They set up cam a few times. Olivia was second ACing for the first half. I was pretty much second ACing for the last half, which is slating. It's just the chopper. The short film is pretty much, it's pretty much comedy. That's how I would describe it. I think that was it for production. For Crafty, we got pizza. I think it was Domino's or something. Some drinks. We used that. We doubled that as Crafty and props. So the pizza, slices of pizza were props. The empty soda bottles, those are props. Those are props too. Once we wrapped, we were just making sure we got everything. Nothing was being missed, left out. We loaded everything back into Annelise's car. I met with her the next day, I think, to drop it off. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. For post-production, Amber was editing it and Weston was doing some VFX. So now I can talk about the DeLorean. We obviously don't have the money to pay for an actual DeLorean to be in the film, and the time in which that would probably even take to happen would probably be way longer than we had the time for, so of course we're not doing that. So Weston pretty much, I think it was an Unreal Engine that he rendered in a Back to the Future DeLorean into the end scene. At first it was looking a little blurry. It was looking like it had low resolution, but then later on it looked nice. It looked nearly believable. It looked believable enough to be funny. I think Amber edited the video in Premiere Pro, if I do recall. We were having trouble with sound. Sound was a thing. I think a lot of people were having trouble with sound. And even with my YouTube videos, I have trouble with sound. Sound is pretty tricky to edit. Because some parts are low, some parts are high. Sometimes if you raise the volume too high, you can hear the background noise. Amber was working on the transitions from scene to scene. They were working hard. We had a film draft, a short film draft screening. So in class, we all had our short films and where they were at that time, and then we screened that, and then our professor reviewed it to see what we should do better and like where we should go with it, what ideas our other classmates may have had, or any questions for marketing. It's a student film. We didn't really do too much marketing. Yeah, we didn't do any marketing. We didn't do too much marketing. No, we didn't do any marketing. I don't know what the legality of this short film would be, considering we all had the same short film. I know Weston kind of changed the script a little bit, but like not enough. Not nearly enough for it to be like his own script. Like, can we submit this short film to film festivals? I don't know. For what it was for, it got the job done. I learned a few things. That was the first time for me producing. I didn't entirely produce because like it wasn't legit like actual film with funding and stuff like that. We were all kind of like just making sure that we could do whatever we could to just make sure that this final project, you know, was being done and to the best of our ability. But yeah, no, we didn't have time to fund it. We didn't have time to look for all these people, crew, cast. Amber and Weston, they found their roommates and their friends to, you know, be a part of it. But other than that, yeah, it would be pretty hard considering it was like around that time where a lot of people were already doing senior thesis films. And so not a lot of people were really available to be on set. And a lot of my friends were either seniors or they're working on their own projects. So they just couldn't do it. For distribution, it was basically the class. We all premiered our short films to the class. One of the groups were having issues with their short film because one of their the editor for their group was, they were leaving for break, so they were in the airport. They didn't have their final cut to show to class. But then, like, while he was in the airport, he sent it. The one that he sent originally was, like, it wasn't working. It was, like, for part of the short film, it was just, like, black screen, and you can just hear the dialogue and the sound. But, like, yeah, the video footage was just a black screen. But luckily, he got that fixed. He sent in a newer one, and it was better. But, yeah, other than that, for distribution, we just posted on YouTube. I posted it on my YouTube channel. Zander posted on his YouTube channel. I don't know if Amber or Weston did, or Anneliese, but you know, maybe they have it on their portfolio, but yeah. What have I learned and what would I take away from this? Bad things are good. For starters, my takeaways from being a part of this film, from start to finish, we didn't really create the script, but other than that, like from start to finish, just make sure that all the roles are very established, like are clearly established. Everybody is clear on what their role on set is. Definitely try to get more crew so that we don't have to like multitask and do more than one role for each person. And then hopefully have more time for casting as well, you know, fundraising for a budget. A few of those things that we just didn't really do, like the budget or like the roles, like, you know, getting more crew. We didn't really need to do that, but it would have been better. We still had a few people that helped because Weston never had their friends help. Time for props and locations, like just more time in general, I would say. I think it usually always goes back to time, even for like big production, blockbusters, like everybody says more time. So like, yeah, the main takeaway is always more time. The big things for me would be like just to make sure to check the equipment way better, and definitely make sure that the battery charger is in the kit, and we got the sound all ready to go with the headphones and the SD card and the batteries. But yeah, other than that, with like checkout, I did pretty well. We got it picked up on time, dropped off on time. I think they were really busy on drop off, and they were like not really busy on pickup. That was crazy. I wish I had filmed that. That was ridiculous. I think we waited for like 30 to 45 minutes to just drop off the equipment because there was a lot of people just dropping off their stuff because they had senior thesis films that they were shooting. So they had way more equipment than we did. What I learned was basically what I learned from the class. I learned the basic things that you would need to do for each role on set, what it takes to make like a short film in general. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Yeah, go watch Bad Things Are Good. I think at the time that you're watching this video, it's been out for 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, go watch that. Yeah, it'll be like right here. I'll have it. It'll be the noti, the promotion, like little thing that goes across the screen. Go watch it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I have no clue what the next video will be, but you will see.